Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Farah Umairah binti Zulfakhor. Thank you to my lecturer, Sir Zaharil, and my fellow friends. Today, I will give a speech. I will give a persuasive speech. My topic for persuasive speech is to persuade the audience to perceive culture heritage among adolescents in Malaysia. Okay, let's go to the first slide. Malaysia is a mixture of race and religions, is known for its rich culture heritage that have been passed down from one age to another, especially among adolescents. I still remember when I visiting Museum Perang in Penang when I was a primary school. I was speechless when I discovered that all of the items in the Museum Perang Penang was unique, and I also discovered a heritage weapon used by Japan during war. According to the Star 2021, Tuanku Abdul Rahman, the legendary figure who declared Merdeka, stand proudly on the podium and be forever solidified in an iconic pose. Culture heritage defined as the functional and symbolic heritage of a group or society inherited. Culture heritage also is recognized as one of the main pillars of society culture, and its preservation is a critical domain. Okay, firstly, adolescents in Malaysia should preserve cultural heritage because of the historic environment. Okay, according to the website insightguides.com, written by Florian in 2010, Malaysia History and Timeline, he described that Malaysia on indispensable shipping lanes and strategic location pulled in an amazing Britain and Japan eager to control the rich. This is because that imperialism power permanently alters the local landscape. For example, Malacca and Georgetown are historic cities that have been developed around 500 years of its ways, trading and culture exchange. The influence from previous empire made Malacca and Georgetown be the historic environment. All buildings bear witness to the city, aesthetic and culture history, providing people with a sense of place and connection to the past. Moreover, historic buildings frequently represent something famous or significant to adolescents who live in or visit a city. I actually help streamline adolescents to appreciate and preservation for legacy culture heritage. Therefore, culture heritage is diverse. It is further divided into tangible and intangible cultural heritage. Tangible heritage refer to the historic site, heritage site, documentary, museum, digital. Meanwhile, intangible refer to the language, music, song, games, and religious ceremony. For example, Hari Raya or Chinese New Year. More established structure frequently is made with remarkable important materials that are difficult to find on this evolution. For instance, marble, old brick, and hard pine. So the older building has its own identity and unmistakable character to be more interesting than the modern building. In my opinion, why should adolescents preserve cultural heritage? Why? My response is the cultural heritage is a symbolic or image of our country independent from colonialism. As adolescents, we must preserve and value our cultural heritage in order to remember the sacrifice made by previous generation. The value of cultural heritage is extremely important to the next generation of technology. Secondly, adolescents in Malaysia should preserve cultural heritage because to protect local and national identity. Okay, based on the journal written by N.M. Shuib et.al. in 2020, Cultural Heritage Preservation Effort in Malaysia, a survey, the researcher described that Malaysia is very much like its neighbor nation in the district that has a rich, different culture and legacy treasure. Thus, this cultural heritage may become lost and terminate with net to no effort in preservation and defending because of modernization and globalization. First, Malay is the most populous ethnic group in Malaysia, accounting for the more than half of the total population, based on Department Statistics Malaysia 2020. Aside from that, Malaysia traditional is an identity as a local cultural heritage that brings uniqueness from Malay traditional, which indirectly spread Malaysia culture among foreign trade. Okay, for example, in Terengganu, songket, also known as a ratu kain in Malay weaving, made history yet again when it was listed on the United Nation Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization or UNESCO list of local and national identity. After that, Malaysia is rich in Malay traditional food, which varies from north to south. Different regions in Malaysia are known for their signature or unique dish. For example, nasi lemak, wrapped in banana leaf, it actually raises adolescent awareness of the importance of cultural heritage. Other than that, prior to the independence, Japan and the British colonized Malaysia or Tanah Melayu. This is due to the Malaysia Spice Well strategy location on a sea, land and global trade to endeavour for the freedom of Malaysia. Tuanku Abdul Rahman draft an appointment of president of political head Malay to handle with British autonomy. In my point of view, we should be grateful for the reason why we should preserve cultural heritage. This is due to the fact that this will be an image for us to continue on the local and national legacy from past fighters. Continue with point number 3. Lastly, adolescents in Malaysia should preserve cultural heritage because of sustainable tourism development. Okay, based on a website UNESCO.org was written by UNESCO World Heritage Center in 2009 World Heritage and Sustainable Tourism Program. The researchers state that cultural tourism industry is one of the biggest and quickest developing worldwide tourism industry market. Half of the cultural heritage in Malaysia is a tourist attraction. That's right. Thus, sustainable principles related to environment, financial, social, cultural aspect of the tourism development and appropriate balance must be preserved for future generation. Okay, regard the social cultural legitimacy of host communication, conserve that heritage, create a traditional value, and understand cultural heritage. Other than that, tourism consume all current and future economy resources. For example, Kota Formosa in Melaka is a cultural heritage site. The structure contributes to the economy and identity of Melaka, Malaysia. There are many places around Malaysia that still have well-preserved local cultural heritage, such as Kelantan, Perak, Terengganu, and etc. In a simple explanation, tourism is the act of people who love history and pleasant things which can obtain outside of a destination. I believe that lack of attention and care toward culture and heritage also contribute to the young generation feeling not interested in the cultural heritage. This neglect is because of the change in globalization and dynamic culture, which cause dynamic interest among people in sustaining the living cultural asset and preserving them. Okay, for introduction, protect local and national identity and sustainable tourism development. Moreover, ask yourself why we need to preserve cultural heritage. Some people thought that tangible and intangible cultural heritage too old and there are no benefit to be gained. But the cultural heritage is the national identity of us and a Malaysian citizen. The awareness of the cultural heritage among adolescents in Malaysia is important to provide future development as well as economic